jumping on here. This is going to be an awesome opportunity for you all to learn about international recruitment and everything from how to recruit during the pandemic and explore new markets. So we're excited to have our excellent partners here, First Point USA, who are joining us all the way from across the pond. So I'm oversee the Eligibility Center here for the NAIA, as well as our business development efforts. And First Point USA has been around for over 20 years, I think it is. You guys hit your 20-year mark this year, and have been tremendous partners of the NAIA. We are very excited to be able to put them in front of you to help answer questions. They are tremendous experts in all things international recruitment, and they've got some real great pointers that they're going to go through today. And I'll kind of turn the mic over here to Dean, and he'll be going through some great content for you today. And I just really want to say thank you to First Point for the great partnership that they've provided for our members. Our members have a couple of different ways that you can get connected. So First Point USA works with thousands of students who are interested in coming to play in the U.S. They do profiles of the institutions that are the options for student athletes, and then they really help full service students from A to Z, how they can go through pretty much every part of the process to be able to land on your campus. Additionally, you can also work directly with First Point USA. Let's say you want to fill roster spots, or you have a concerted effort to increase your international presence in your maybe a new program that you're creating, or even just want to grow internationally within your current ranks. You have the opportunity to work directly with First Point, and then they try to find students that are the right fit for exactly what you have open. So we're excited to connect you with them today and have you have kind of some key insights. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dean and his team to talk us through all of the different things that come with recruiting during a pandemic.
Thank you, Leah. As you said, it's great to be here talking to some of the NAIA membership, some of the coaches, athletic directors that are listening in tonight. Great to be working with yourselves on this again, as with loads of other things that we kind of collaborate on and work together on. So thank you for joining us and for allowing us the opportunity to speak to you guys and to all the members that are listening out there. We're looking forward to sharing some information with everybody on, some of the challenges that we faced over the last 10 to 12 months, some of the challenges that some of our students and their families have faced, and some of the steps we've taken to overcome that, and things that we're looking at moving forward as well. One of my colleagues, Leslie, is due to join us on the presentation as well. Unfortunately, there's a bit of a technical issue going on at the moment, so if Leslie pops up on the screen, that's why, just in case that happens. But if she doesn't, then I'll just keep going through this myself. Before I get going, on the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see a ribbon with all sorts of little icons. There's one that looks like a screen with a question mark in it. That's a question and answer function. If you've not used this platform before, then please feel free to type in any questions into that question answer function. If we don't answer those during the course of the presentation, then at the end we'll make sure to go back and try and cover off all of those questions in there as well. So please feel free to answer any questions that you have as we go through. So to start off, just a little bit of a background and an introduction on First Point USA. I know that some of you will have worked with First Point previously. Maybe some of you haven't. Maybe some of you have heard of First Point again. Maybe some of you haven't. But a bit of an intro. As Leah said, we've been going for 20 years now. I think it was January the 15th. We officially celebrated our 20th year, which was great. In that time, we've worked with over 20,000 students and their families and placed them at suitable institutions across the USA, which has been great. On an athletic perspective, we recruit in over 30 different sports. Some sports obviously being more popular than others, but yeah, across the full spectrum of 30 sports that we currently are recruiting for, and we work with thousands of institutions across the country. Oh, that's gone the wrong way. We have roughly 80,000 athletes that apply to come onto our program every year, and those are from every corner of the world. This is through a combination of our own recruitment operations and our own recruitment events and workshops and programs that we run, but we also work with a number of partners internationally, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail later on. But through all of our recruitment and sharing recruitment information with our partners in various parts of the world, as I say, we have thousands and thousands of athletes that apply to work with us through the year. We obviously then have to go through the process of assessing those students, looking at them in terms of their academic suitability, their athletic suitability, their financial situation, all that sort of stuff, so that we can make sure that we're working with the students who have a realistic opportunity ahead of them. A lot of our staff members are former student athletes themselves. We have former golfers, soccer players, rugby players, we had rowers, all sorts of student athletes that work at First Point USA and provide a first-hand experience and a first-hand account to students and to their families on what this journey looks like, what some of the challenges are that they might face in the years ahead, what some of the difficulties are going to be, but also what some of the amazing opportunities are going to be and how this is really a life-changing opportunity. So a lot of the advice and guidance given to the students and to the student athletes that we work with comes from a first-hand experience. We've got some other perspectives in the office as well. Leslie, who I mentioned previously, didn't personally go over and study in the USA, but she currently has 3 sons who are studying on sports scholarship out in the States as well. So Leslie's able to share that parent perspective and give a different view on what that looks like, and also obviously speak to our partner institutions from a parent's point of view as well, in terms of what they are looking for their kids, and some of the questions that they might have and some of the answers that they'll be looking for as well. I mentioned that we recruit globally. We have students currently that we're working with from 6 continents. There are certain regions where we get a lot of interest compared to others. And again, I'll go through some of that in a little bit more detail later on. Just quickly to run through this in terms of some of the certification and accreditation that First Point has been awarded. We obviously are delighted to be the UK and China recruitment partners of the NAIA. We have a similar recognition from the NJCAA. We are certified by the American International Recruitment Council, which is more of an academic certification than an athletic certification, but it just gives us further accreditation and credibility when taking these students through the process of gaining admission to a university or college in the USA, and obviously having certain processes that need to be in place when we're taking those students through those processes. We're also on the list of certified or approved agencies, scouting agencies for the NCAA, and we're the only agency in the world who have all of these partnerships and all of these certifications or accreditations in place. So again, just to come back to some of the partners that we work with, and this includes both on the recruiting end in terms of recruiting students onto our program, but then also on the recruiting end in terms of the students going off to the universities and the colleges on the institutions end. So I mentioned that we work with all athletic associations and divisions. The NAIA is probably the association that we work most closely with, and especially in the last sort of 10 to 12 months, possibly a little bit longer than that. We've been working really, really closely with the NAIA on a number of fronts, a number of information sharing sessions such as what we're doing today, webinars on certain topics and sharing info with membership, learning from each other, our talent management team who work hand in hand with our students. They've done all the training through the NAIA in terms of the in-cred grade evaluation service, in terms of the eligibility center. So our staff are well trained and up to date on all of those processes and procedures. But we also work with the NAIA on things like competitive league analysis from different countries in the world, making sure that students coming through the process are amateur and they haven't been competing in professional sports leagues in various parts of the world, for example. So working on a number of things that put in the NAIA potentially in touch with some of our partners in the rest of the world, and on other things as well. So we work very closely, as I say, with Leia and with other members of the NAIA on a number of different things, and obviously tonight's session is another example of that. when it comes to working with institutions over in the USA, we have over the past been probably a little bit more ad hoc in working with institutions, finding athletes, recruiting athletes, and then off the back of that, finding a place for them to go, a place that matches their profile. Whereas now we're a lot more targeted and directed in what we're doing. We're working with institutions to better understand, what is it that you're looking for? What type of athlete are you looking for? What type of student are you looking for? What does their profile need to look like? And then we're going off and actively recruiting students that match that very specific profile. And again, I'll touch on that in a little bit further on, but it's a lot more targeted and a lot more directed in terms of how we are working with institutions at the moment. So obviously, I don't need to explain to everyone how challenging the last 12 to 14 months have been. I don't think any one of us have been through anything like this previously, and it's thrown up a number of obstacles and hurdles in terms of recruitment, both in an athletic sense, but also in a general enrollment sense as well. It's been true for universities and colleges, but it's been true for us to an extent as well. Some of those challenges are the restrictions to international travel, students not being able to get to the USA, coaches not being able to travel internationally on recruitment trips, not being able to go out and see students competing in competitions or in showcase events, the cancellation of live sports and other sorts of events where students are struggling in terms of being able to keep up their competitive levels because competition just has stalled. Students potentially not being able to get their game footage up to date because they don't have any competitive opportunities. And obviously coaches not being able to train their teams and compete as well, which potentially then has an impact on students wanting to travel over to the US because they're not sure if they're going to have that opportunity to compete straight away. All of this has kind of led to various levels of uncertainty around when students are going to travel over to the US. Do they travel now for the coming fall? Do they put it off until spring recruitment in January? Do they wait for fall 2022? These are all questions that families have that we're trying to work with them through. We see light at the end of the tunnel. We're hoping that fall 2021 is going to be a lot closer to normal than anything else in the last 12 to 14 months has been. So those have just been some of the challenges that we've been working through and that we've been guiding our students through, but also kind of staying in touch with our partners and trying to gain a better understanding of some of the challenges that our institutions are facing as well. We're all obviously in this together and all trying to find solutions to this. So speaking of some of the solutions, sorry, I haven't quite got the hang of my technology yet. Some of the changes and the innovations that we've kind of implemented over the last 12 to 14 months to help us with some of these challenges that I mentioned. One of the things that has really been accelerated and sped up over the last year is the digitization of our operations. We have always had a plan of being a lot more digital and a lot more efficient and using technology to better provide student athletes to our institutional partners, and this last year has probably accelerated that a lot. We've introduced a platform on our website where coaches can log in. Coaches create a profile and they log in. On the other end of that, we have student profiles that we're updating and uploading every day. And the coaches and the students can then interact on that platform. Coaches can view footage. Most of our student athletes that have been vetted and qualified have footage as well as their academic information, their athletic backgrounds, etc. And coaches can access that information, assess those individuals, but also browse through the rest of the students there and try and find additional students that maybe they haven't been made aware of just yet. As I mentioned, we go through a process of qualifying and vetting these students in terms of their athletic suitability. We put them through the eligibility centers. As I mentioned, our talent management team recently did an update on the eligibility center training with NAIA staff, but we also qualify them academically, get them through the in-cred grade evaluation service, qualify them in that sense, but also have a conversation with them about their finances, making sure that they're in a position financially that they can afford this opportunity and that they're going to match the profile financially that the institution is looking for. So a lot of that has been digitized. We've very close to launching a similar platform for our non-athletic recruitment as well. But obviously with most of the audience tonight being coaches and athletic directors, the athletic recruitment platform is what we're spending most of our time speaking about here. So if you aren't on the platform yet, it's very easy to join. You just go to the First Point USA website, and with the click of a couple of buttons, you'll have your profile. Once that's been approved by our staff, you're then able to browse through the thousands and thousands of athletes that are on there, and kind of have a look at what they've got to offer through their video footage and their profile info. Something else that we've really kind of ramped up over the last year in terms, in addition to our digitization, is our partnerships globally. What this means is working with national governing bodies of sport, for example. So an example on the screen there is British Wrestling. We've been working with British Wrestling quite closely to support some of their students who are coming to the end of a performance program, for example, who are not going to be kept on longer term and are now looking for the next step in their career, and you know, what better opportunity for them to continue wrestling at a higher degree and also get their education at the same time. So British Wrestling, England Lacrosse is another national governing body, looking at the ones on the screen there. The Hong Kong Rugby Union is another one who's recently joined us as a partner. But we also work with educational organizations and associations. In the middle of the screen there, you'll see League Football Education. The League Football Education is the group that runs the educational aspect of professional soccer academies in the UK. So the top soccer teams in the UK, soccer clubs in the UK, their academy players will be put through the educational element of that program through League Football Education, and we work closely with League Football Education to provide, as I said, that next step in that journey. Just next to that, you'll see the Independent Schools Association. That's a network of, I think, 500 private schools and private high schools in the UK. And again, we provide that opportunity for their students and support and information for the students and their families. Those are some examples of some of the partners that we have globally that support us with our recruitment, and vice versa. We support their students through the process of gaining an opportunity in the US. There's national government agencies that we work with as well in China, Mexico, Sierra Leone, as an example. So quite a variety of partners that we have internationally, and we try and obviously put our partner institutions in touch with some of these partners globally as well to kind of aid and support that recruitment pipeline and develop a little bit of long-term or longevity to this. One of the events that we run every year that we're involved with is the China Junior Masters, and that's the top 100 to 120 junior golfers in China that compete in that. So, every year we have some really, really talented golfers, both male and female, coming through that event and gaining opportunities in the US as well. So we've been working quite hard on that in the past year, developing partnerships and relationships internationally that then better serve the recruitment aspirations of our partner schools in the US as well. So exploring new markets is, again, something that we've been working on for a number of years, but probably has accelerated in the last year. And there's two elements to this, and I'll touch on both of those elements as we go through this. The image that you can see on the screen at the moment is sort of a representation of where most students that are in the USA come from, international students. There are more international students in the USA than anywhere else in the world. Some countries like China, for example, the UK and Europe, Saudi Arabia, India, are well known as providing students to the US for a sort of general enrollment market, but not necessarily that well known in terms of athletic recruitment. So we've been working really, really hard with our own recruitment operations, with our staff based in some of these countries, but also with our partners in these countries to open the door to athletic recruitment in these countries as well. And to give you a couple of examples of that, that figure under China there, 370,000 students, that was for last year. And that represents 370,000 students from China who were studying in the USA last year. Of that number, only 18 were student athletes. and most of them are competing under NCAA schools. So we've been working really hard with government agencies in China, such as the Chinese Secondary School Sports Federation. We've been working with the Chinese Super League, which is obviously the big professional soccer league in China, and with the constituent clubs of the China Super League to recruit athletes from China and make them more aware of that opportunity and that pathway to the US. I think in some of these countries, the information on studying in the USA is fairly available and quite easily available, but educating students and student athletes on the athletic opportunities is something that hasn't really taken off, and that's something that we're developing. So an example is a girl in India who is currently finishing up her high school. She is a basketball player. She's represented India in age grade basketball teams and played on the world stage at under 16 and under 18 level. She's attended NBA camps in the USA in summer, and she's getting ready to go over to the US and is currently speaking to a number of institutions about basketball opportunities as well. So, India potentially not that well known as an athletic recruitment hotbed, but there are examples like this girl, the basketball player, that, once we start opening that tap, we expect to see a lot more talented athletes coming from some of these countries. We've got a number of soccer players from Saudi Arabia, again, not well known as an athletic hotbed. We recently sent the first ever Bahraini student athlete over to the USA, and if I'm not mistaken, it was an NAIA school that he attended or is attending at the moment. And then that was working in partnership with some recruitment partners in Bahrain, but with the royal family in Bahrain as well, and opening up that channel and that pathway to the US for athletes from that part of the world. Again, as I say, not necessarily well known as an athletic recruitment hotbed, but we're trying to change that, opening up the door to some of these countries where there is an existing pathway to the US, but just showing them that there's more than one route. It's not all about the academics. That's obviously a priority and that's very important, but athletically as well, there are some fantastic opportunities. And we're working with our institutions in the NAIA to kind of grow those opportunities in these countries as well. So this is kind of the second element of the exploring new markets or opening up new markets that I mentioned. The first, obviously, as I said, was looking at athletes in places that are not known as athletic recruitment areas. The second is working with institutions to add athletic programs to their athletic department or to their offering. And a lot of schools are looking at this currently. I've put a few examples of some sports on the screen there at the moment. Soccer is a very popular sport both in the USA but internationally as well. And there are a lot of schools who are looking at potentially adding soccer to their programs or to their offering to attract international students. And it's been really, really successful for some of the smaller schools that we work with who can make a huge impact on their general international enrollment by recruiting international student athletes because their athletic population makes up such a large percentage of the overall population on campus. So recruiting through athletics, creating more opportunities for international athletes to come to campus and to enroll in the school is another way that schools have been engaging in those opportunities to improve their enrollment, particularly over the last sort of 10 to 12 months where we've had the challenges mentioned previously. But the other reason that I used some of these sports, rugby, soccer, again, as examples, they are very popular sports in the international territories that we're operating in. And there's a lot of interest from these students going over to the USA. Rugby is taking off in the USA massively. There's a professional rugby league called Major League Rugby that is going into its third season. They have started using collegiate rugby as a drafting system, similar to Major League Soccer, similar to the NFL, NBA, etc., etc. So the opportunities for international students coming over as rugby players, competing as a college athlete for 4 years, and then potentially being drafted into the pro leagues is now a viable option for those talented rugby players internationally who are looking at the USA. So the other attractive, the other appealing aspect, I suppose, of these two sports in particular is that the startup costs are not as big as they might be for some of the other sports. If you were trying to implement a tennis program, a swimming program, and you didn't have tennis courts or access to swimming pools, etc., there's a cost obviously involved with starting those programs up. Whereas for soccer and for rugby in particular, the startup costs are a little bit more, a little bit lower, I should say. If you have a grass pitch that's a suitable size, and you can stick some goal posts on it or some rugby posts on it, then essentially once you've recruited your coach, you have the starts of a rugby program or a soccer program. There's obviously a lot more to that as you become more competitive and you start to develop that program further on. But as a starting point, these costs are pretty low compared to some of the other sports. So a little bit easier, therefore, to contribute. To add those to the athletic program. The other thing about these two sports is that they are squad sports, and they are both, male and female athletes are active in these sports. Rugby, as an example, you potentially could be using up to 40 to 45 players in a single team every season. So again, that's an additional 40 to 45 potential students on campus as well, adding to their bottom line, adding to that enrollment figure as well. Esports is one that is growing massively as well. We've seen a huge interest internationally in esports. There are more and more college programs popping up every week, every month. And that's one that we are really interested in and that we're monitoring. We recently held our own esports trial event, and we're busy qualifying those students further in terms of their academic qualities and their academic eligibility. But in terms of the esports interest, that's gone through the roof recently, just with the number of colleges that are now offering that as a varsity sport on campus, and also offering degrees that are in that field as well. So that's another program that we've seen a lot of schools adding to their athletic departments and to their varsity sports offering recently as well. So that's kind of the end of the presentation. I've put up the contact details for myself, Leslie, and Ross, who work in our partnerships team here at First Point USA. If you would like to reach out to us for a further conversation, or if you've got any questions, or if there are anything that, any topics that we brought up tonight that you want to have a little look at further, then please do reach out to us. We'll follow up tonight's presentation with an email just to thank everybody for tuning in and for listening to the information that we're sharing. But if you contact us and discuss anything with us in particular, or if you've got any questions on international recruitment just in general, then please feel free to get in touch with us. Those are our email addresses there. You can get in touch with all three of us if you want, or one of us in particular, and you can then ask your questions and kind of set up a further conversation if you want. But yeah, thanks a lot for your time tonight. I know that everybody's really, really busy, particularly at this time of year. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate everybody coming onto the webinar and listening. And if there have been any questions coming in over the course of the presentation, we'll just answer those now and kind of pick up on any conversations that come off the back of those questions. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to stick them in the Q&A section on the left-hand side of the screen. You'll see a little speech bubble with a question mark in it, and any questions that come through, we'll pick those up and have a little chat about them as well. If there are no questions, then I'll just ask Leah if she's got anything that she wants to add, and then we can wrap things up. But again, thank you very much for joining us tonight and for listening to all that we had to say. We look forward to reaching out to you and speaking to you guys as well over the next couple of days.
Thank you, Dean. Great information. I hope everyone took away something, and feel free to reach out to Dean directly if you've got questions or follow-up. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
It's evening for Dean, however, the rest.
Yeah, the rest of you guys better get back to work, I think.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thanks, everyone.